The Bible says in the book of Romans chapter 1 and verse 16, "For I am not ashamed of the gospel of Christ, for it is the power of God unto salvation, to everyone that believes, to the Jew first, and also the Greek." When we think of the gospel, we should not limit our thoughts to simply a message that is proclaimed, but also a message that is to be experienced. For the Bible says that the gospel of Christ is also power, and power is not limited to something we talk about. Power is also something we experience and demonstrate. Well, the Bible helps us understand how this can be made more practical as we understand more about the power of God. I want us to consider the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 1. And I want you to look at verses 17 and 18 with me. And here's what it says. It says, "For Christ sent me not to baptize, but to preach the gospel, not with wisdom of words, lest the cross of Christ should be made of none effect. For the preaching of the cross is to them that perish foolishness, but unto us which are saved, it is the power of God." I hope you see the connection. I'm not ashamed of the gospel of Christ, for it is the power of God unto salvation. Then we looked at 1 Corinthians 1, and it shows that the cross of Christ is the power of God. There's something about the cross of Calvary that when it's properly understood, it teaches us powerful yet practical lessons. Jesus gave us an example of this. When you look at Matthew 16 and verse 24, Jesus said, "If any man will come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me." Now we're entering into the practical phase of the power of God. Whenever we think of the power of God, we think of the cross of Christ. And when we think of the cross of Christ, we think about an example, the most incredible example given to humanity of one who, though he had a right to stay in heaven, he decided to deny even himself his rights, and he humbled himself and became servants. Now Christ says to you and I, the way we can make the cross practical is by also doing the same. We are going to, though we may have several rights in our world, we are going to deny ourselves these rights for the sake of the gospel. And we're going to allow the gospel to go forward that we can be effective messengers of light and demonstrate the power of God. It is amazing when a man knows that he has a right to do something that he wants to do, but for Christ's sake, he denies himself. He's bringing the cross of Christ into his daily experience. This is why we're told in the book Ministry of Healing, page 460, paragraph 4, "Let the cross of Christ be the science of all education, the center of all teaching and all study. Bring its principles into the daily experience in practical life." This is what we're studying. I want to encourage you to always remember this. There will be many things in life you will be tempted to do. There will be many things that are sinful that Satan will try to call you to do and to surrender to. At those moments of temptation, remember the practical lesson of the cross, denying myself, letting not my will, but God's will be done. And I believe that the more that we bring this into our daily experience in practical living, God is going to enable you and I to understand the steps of victory over sin, where ultimately we'll get to a place that there's no more sin because Christ has completely blotted it out. This is my hope. This is my prayer for you. Continue to fix your eyes upon Calvary and remember the wonderful practical lessons we gain from the cross. God bless you. Maranatha.